The research ship Stellar Horizon moved slowly through the dark space near the dying star. Captain Lee Minho walked through the quiet halls of his ship, checking on his crew. They had been traveling for 3 months, looking for anything unusual in this old star system. Dr. Kim Yuna sat in the science lab staring at her computer screen. Her eyes were wide with excitement and fear. The numbers on her screen showed something impossible. She had discovered something that made her hands shake. "Captain Lee, please come to the lab right now," she said into her communication device. Her voice was different than usual. Minho could hear that something was very wrong. When Captain Lee arrived at the lab, he found Dr. Yuna standing by the big window. She was looking out at space with a strange expression on her face. Outside the window, there was something that should not exist. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" Captain Lee asked. He moved closer to the window and felt his heart start beating faster. The thing floating in space was huge. It was bigger than Earth's moon. It looked like a giant machine, but not like any machine humans had ever built. The surface was covered with strange patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them. Purple light came from deep inside the structure, making it glow like a dangerous jewel. "I have been studying this thing for 2 days," Dr. Yuna said quietly. "The materials it is made from do not exist in our science books. The energy coming from it is more powerful than our sun. Captain, I think this is a weapon." Dr. Choi Soon-ho ran into the lab holding his tablet computer. He was the ship's language expert, and he looked very confused and scared. "Captain, we are getting a message from that thing," he said, breathing heavily. "The message is in perfect Korean. Better Korean than most people speak." Captain Lee felt cold fear move through his body. "Play the message." A voice filled the lab. It sounded old and wise, but also very tired. The voice spoke in Korean that was so perfect it sounded like poetry. "Welcome, children of Earth. I am the guardian of the threshold. You have found what your people would call a last protocol device. Do not be afraid. Please prepare to come aboard my structure. There are things you must learn about your universe. Time is running out." Engineer Park Dae-ho, who had been working on the ship's engines, heard the message over the communication system. He came running to the lab with oil on his hands and worry in his eyes. "Captain, that thing is scanning our ship," he said. "Our computers are trying to understand the scan, but the technology is too advanced. It is like trying to explain space, travel to an ant." Dr. Yuna showed Captain Lee her computer screen. The numbers and pictures showed energy readings that were impossible to believe. "This weapon, if that is what it is, has enough power to destroy star systems," she said. "Maybe entire sections of the galaxy. The energy signatures match our theories about universe-ending weapons." Park Ji-won, the ship's communication officer, called from the bridge. Her voice came through the speakers, high and frightened. "Captain, the alien structure is doing something to our ship. We cannot move away from it, but we are not being hurt. It is like we are being held gently in place." Captain Lee looked at his crew. These people had followed him across the galaxy, trusting his decisions. Now they were facing something beyond human understanding. The structure outside was clearly built by beings far more advanced than humans. "Dr. Yuna, in your opinion, is this thing dangerous to us right now?" he asked. Dr. Yuna studied her readings again. "The energy is contained, controlled. Whatever this guardian is, it is not trying to hurt us. But Captain, the power level suggests this device could destroy everything we know. Our entire galaxy could be erased by this weapon." The voice of the guardian spoke again, and this time it sounded almost kind. "I know you are afraid, small ones. Fear is wise when facing the unknown. But I have been waiting for someone to find me. Waiting for a species young enough to see new solutions to old problems. Your kind shows promise. Please allow me to explain why this weapon exists. The story will frighten you, but you must understand." Dr. Choi Soon-ho looked at his language. Analysis. "Captain, this being has been studying our radio signals, our internet, our television broadcasts for decades. It knows more about human culture than most humans do." Captain Lee made his decision. As the leader of the expedition, he had to choose between running away or learning the truth about this mysterious weapon. Prepare a shuttle, he told his crew. Dr. Yuna, Dr. Choi, Engineer Park, you are with me. We are going to meet this guardian and learn what it wants to tell us. Outside the window, the massive alien structure waited patiently, its purple light pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Inside that ancient machine, secrets waited that would change everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. The stellar horizon had come looking for scientific discoveries. Instead, they had found something that would force them to make the most important decision in human history. The shuttle carrying Captain Lee Minho and his team moved slowly toward the massive alien structure. Dr. Kim Yuna pressed her face against the small window, watching the strange surface get closer. The patterns on the weapon seemed to shift and change like they were alive. Landing bay is opening, said Engineer Park Daeho, looking at his controls with confusion. But I'm not controlling the shuttle anymore. The structure is guiding us in. The landing bay was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Strange lights guided their shuttle to a safe landing spot. When they stepped out, they could breathe. Normally, the alien structure had created perfect air for humans. Follow the blue lights, said the Guardian's voice coming from everywhere around them. Do not touch the red surfaces. They are not meant for your kind of life. The team walked through halls that seemed to bend space itself. Sometimes they walked on walls, sometimes on ceilings, but they always felt like they were walking normally. Dr. Choi Soon-ho held his translation device, but it was not needed. The Guardian spoke perfect Korean. They entered a room that was impossible to understand. It was round, but also square, and also triangular at the same time. In the center, a figure made of light waited for them. The Guardian looked like a person, but kept changing between different alien faces. Sit, please, the Guardian said, and chairs made of solid light appeared. What I must tell you will be difficult to believe. Captain Lee sat down carefully. The chair felt real, even though it was made of light. We are ready to listen. The Guardian raised its glowing hand, and the room filled with pictures of space. But these were not normal pictures. They showed entire galaxies dying, stars going, dark planets simply disappearing. Your universe is not permanent, the Guardian began. Every 4,700,000,000 years, reality itself begins to break down. We call this the entropy cascade. Dr. Yuna leaned forward. What do you mean reality breaks down? The pictures changed, showing the inside of atoms. The forces that hold matter together become weak. The rules of physics stop working. Energy stops flowing properly. When this happens, entire solar systems just stop existing. Not destroyed. They never existed at all. Engineer Park Daeho looked sick. That is impossible. Your scientists have already detected the early signs, the Guardian said sadly. Stars that should be shining have gone dark for no reason. The Veil Nebula is expanding in ways your physics cannot explain. The Magellanic Clouds have stopped sending radio signals to Earth. The room showed new pictures of Earth space telescopes, and the strange things they had been seeing. Things that human scientists could not explain. The cascade has already begun in your galaxy, the Guardian continued. It starts slowly in empty spaces between stars, but it grows faster and faster. Soon, it will reach populated worlds. Dr. Choi Soon-ho's voice was very quiet. How long do we have? 53 of your years, maybe less. Captain Lee felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. And this weapon stops it? The Guardian's light form flickered, showing what might have been great sadness. This device creates what your people would call a controlled black hole, but much more powerful. It destroys everything in a sphere 50,000 light-years across. The destruction is so complete that it resets the fabric of space and time itself. Dr. Yuna did quick math in her head. The Milky Way galaxy is only 100,000 light-years across. You are talking about destroying half our galaxy. Yes, the Guardian said simply. Half your galaxy dies so that the universe can continue to exist. The team sat in shocked silence. The numbers were too big, too terrible to fully understand. Park Ji-won's voice came through their communication devices from the ship. Captain, we are detecting other ships approaching. Big ones. They do not look human. The conclave is beginning, the Guardian explained. When the cascade threatens the universe, representatives from all advanced species gather here. Each species gets one vote on when to activate the weapon. One vote? Captain Lee asked. How many species are there? 47 species will vote. Humans are the youngest. Your voice will be heard, but older civilizations have seen this happen before. They know what must be done. New pictures appeared, showing alien ships arriving at the weapon. Some ships were beautiful, made of crystal and light. Others looked like living creatures swimming through space. All were much larger and more advanced than human ships. The vote is simple, the Guardian said. When 60% of the affected star systems show cascade damage, the weapon fires. It has always been this way. Dr. Yuna stood up, her scientific mind refusing to accept defeat. There must be another way, some solution that does not require destroying billions of worlds. The Guardian's form became more solid, looking almost human. For 4 billion years, 46 different galactic civilizations have tried to find another way. They built barriers around reality tiers. They tried to reverse the cascade. They attempted to escape to other dimensions. All failed. The last protocol fires, or everything dies. Captain Lee felt the weight of impossible responsibility. One human vote among 47 alien species, deciding the fate of half the galaxy. What happens if we refuse to vote? He asked. Then the other species decide without you. Humanity's opinion is noted but not required for the weapon to fire. Outside the impossible room, more alien ships arrived, carrying representatives of civilizations millions of years older than humanity. Each had faced this choice before. Each had learned to accept the terrible mathematics of survival. The universe was dying, and the only cure was to cut out the infected parts before the disease could spread. The emergency meeting room on Earth buzzed with angry voices. President Kim Taehyung sat at the head of the long table, his face pale and tired. Around him, leaders from every human colony and nation argued loudly about Captain Lee Min-ho's report. You are asking us to accept the death of half our galaxy, shouted Admiral Songmina, slamming her hand on the table. Billions of humans will die. Our colonies, our children, everything we have built. Dr. Kim Yuna's voice came through the communication screen from the alien weapon. The mathematics are clear. If we do nothing, the cascade will destroy everything. Not just our galaxy, but the entire universe. Council member Park Hyun-woo stood up, his face red with anger. Maybe we should take control of this weapon ourselves. Use it to protect only human space. That is not how it works, Captain Lee explained patiently. The weapon cannot be selective. It either destroys everything in a 50,000 light-year sphere, or it does nothing. Back at the alien structure, Captain Lee watched more ships arrive. Each vessel was stranger than the last. The crystalline Eternals came in ships that looked like floating diamonds. The deep swimmers arrived in vessels filled with strange blue liquid. The sound weavers traveled in ships that sang with beautiful music. Dr. Choi Soon-ho worked hard to translate the different alien languages as the conclave began. The meeting hall was enormous, filled with beings that looked like living geometry, ocean creatures that floated in water bubbles, and energy beings that had no solid form at all. Young species, said the primary crystal Eternal, its voice ringing, like bells. Your input is welcome but not necessary. We have faced this choice before. The protocols are established. The weapon fires when 60% of affected systems show cascade damage. Captain Lee stood up from the small human section. Around him, alien beings that had lived for millions of years looked down at humanity with what might have been pity. 60% means 40 billion thinking beings across 17 species will die, Captain Lee said. That is not acceptable. A deep swimmer made clicking sounds that the translator turned into cold words. We have watched entire galaxies. Die, young mammal. It is better to save what can be saved than to lose everything. Engineer Park Dae-ho, who was monitoring the weapons systems, noticed something that made his heart race. He pulled Dr. Yuna aside and showed her his readings. The cascade is not following the predicted pattern, he whispered urgently. It is moving faster than the ancient calculations expected. Much faster. Dr. Yuna looked at the numbers and felt sick. How much faster? If this continues, we do not have 50 years. We have maybe 10 years. Maybe less. The terrible news spread through the human delegation like fire. They had hoped for time to find alternatives, time to evacuate people, time to prepare. Now even that hope was gone. In the conclave hall, the older species debated calmly about acceptable losses. The energy singers communicated through gravitational waves, discussing which star systems could be sacrificed. The metal shapers, beings made of living metal, calculated the minimum destruction needed for universal survival. The cascade acceleration changes our timeline, announced the guardian of the threshold. We may need to activate the weapon within the next standard year. The hall fell silent. Even the ancient species had not expected this news. Captain Lee felt the crushing weight of speaking for all humanity. These alien beings had experienced this crisis before. They had learned to think in terms of galactic survival rather than individual lives. But humans were new to this scale of thinking. What if we refused to vote? Asked Dr. Choi Soon-ho quietly. The Guardian's form flickered. Then the vote proceeds without human input. 31 species support immediate activation. 15 want to wait for the 60% threshold. One species, yours, has not decided. Dr. Yuna studied the cascade readings that Engineer Park had shared with her. Something about the pattern bothered her. The breakdown was not random like the ancient model suggested. There was structure to it, mathematical patterns that reminded her of chaos theory from her university days. The cascade follows fractal geometry, she muttered, working on her portable computer while the conclave debated around her. It creates channels, pathways through space-time. Captain Lee overheard her. What does that mean? I'm not sure yet. But what if the ancient species are approaching this wrong? What if instead of stopping the cascade, we could redirect it? Her words were quiet, but several alien translators picked them up. The sound weavers created harmonics that might have been laughter. The crystal eternals resonated with frequencies that sounded dismissive. Young species always believe they can find new solutions to old problems, said the deep swimmer representative. We have tried everything. The last protocol is the only way. But Dr. Yuna continued working on her calculations, ignoring the alien dismissal. Humans had always been good at finding new ways to solve impossible problems. Maybe their youth was not a weakness but a strength. As the conclave prepared for the final vote, Dr. Yuna raced against time to prove that humanity's newest voice might carry the wisdom needed to save everyone, including the ancient species who had given up hope of finding a better way. The fate of the universe hung in the balance, and, for the first time in 4 billion years, someone was asking if there might be another answer besides sacrifice. Dr. Kim Yuna had not slept for 3 days. Her eyes burned as she stared at the mathematical equations floating in the air around her. The alien technology let her work with numbers in ways that seemed like magic, but the problem was still too big to solve. The pattern is not random, she whispered to herself, moving the glowing numbers around with her hands. There has to be a structure here. Dr. Nam Ji-hoon, her research assistant, brought her another cup of coffee. He looked worried about her health, but he knew better than to tell her to rest when she was this close to a breakthrough. What do you see that the ancient aliens missed? He asked quietly. Yuna highlighted parts of the cascade pattern with her finger. The numbers glowed brighter where she touched them. Look at this. The reality breakdown does not spread evenly. It follows mathematical rules, chaos theory, fractal geometry. The breakdown creates channels through space-time. Captain Lee Min-ho entered the research room, his face showing the stress of the past few days. The conclave was preparing to vote, and most of the alien species wanted to fire the weapon immediately. Doctor, we are running out of time. The crystal eternals are demanding an immediate vote. They say the cascade has reached critical levels. Yuna spun around, her eyes bright with desperate hope. Captain, what if we do not fight the cascade? What if we guide it instead? She waved her hands, and the room filled with a three-dimensional map of their part of the galaxy. The cascade pattern overlaid the star map, showing how the reality breakdown was spreading. The ancient builders tried to stop an unstoppable force, she explained. But humans have always been better at changing direction than stopping movement. Look, if we modify the weapon, we can create controlled tiers in space-time. We can make the cascade follow paths that lead away from populated areas. Dr. Choi Sunho joined them, still wearing his translation equipment from the conclave meetings. The other species are not interested in theories from the galaxy's youngest race. They say we lack experience. Then we will prove it works, Yuna said, her tiredness replaced by fierce determination. The last protocol weapon does not have to create destruction. We can change it to create cascade tunnels, controlled pathways that direct the breakdown toward empty space between galaxies. Engineer Park Dae-ho studied the weapon schematics that Yuna had pulled up. The power requirements would be enormous. And if we make a mistake? If we make a mistake, the other species fire the weapon the old way, Captain Lee said. We would take full responsibility for trying. Communication Officer Park Ji-won's voice suddenly filled the room through the speakers. Captain, emergency alert. Long-range sensors show massive cascade acceleration. The Andromeda contact zones have gone completely dark. We are looking at weeks, not years. The room fell silent. Their time had just run out. The modifications would require precision work on a cosmic scale, Dr. Nam Ji-hoon said quietly. Our ships are not designed for that kind of construction work. No, Captain Lee replied. But they are designed for the impossible. That is what humans do best. In the conclave hall, the alien species were preparing for the final vote. The guardian of the threshold announced the new timeline with mechanical precision. Cascade acceleration has exceeded all models. Activation must occur within 72 standard hours, or the opportunity will be lost. The energy singers created harmony patterns that expressed urgency. The metal shapers calculated optimal firing coordinates. The deep swimmers discussed evacuation protocols for their own species. Captain Lee requested permission to address the conclave. The ancient beings looked at him with expressions that might have been patience or pity. Honored species, he began. Humanity has discovered that the cascade follows mathematical patterns. We believe we can redirect it instead of stopping it. The Crystal Eternal's voice rang through the hall like breaking glass. Young species, your mathematics are based on 400 years of science. Our understanding spans 4 billion years. The last protocol is the only proven solution. But you have never tried redirection, Dr. Yuna said, stepping forward with her calculations. Your models assume the cascade must be stopped. What if it only needs to be guided? She displayed her work for all the species to see. The mathematics showed cascade tunnels leading to empty voids between galaxy clusters, where the reality breakdown could spend its force harmlessly. The deep swimmer representative made clicking sounds. The probability of success is 23%. Failure would not just mean firing the weapon traditionally. It could accelerate the cascade and destroy the entire universe. 23% is better than 0%, Captain Lee said. And 0% is what we get if we just accept that half the galaxy must die. The sound weavers created complex harmonies that might have been consideration. The Guardian of the Threshold studied Yuna's calculations with processing power that had analyzed cosmic events for eons. The mathematics are interesting, the Guardian finally said. The approach has never been attempted because it requires modification of systems that took millions of years to perfect. How long would the modifications take? Asked the metal shaper representative. Engineer Park Dae-ho had been studying the deep weapons construction. With human ships and crews working continuously, maybe 60 hours, if nothing goes wrong. The conclave buzzed with alien discussions in dozens of languages. For the first time in billions of years, they were considering an alternative to their proven solution. Captain Lee made the decision that would define humanity's place in the universe. We volunteer to make the modifications alone. If we fail, you can still fire the weapon the traditional way. The youngest species in the galaxy had just offered to risk everything on an untested idea, giving the universe a choice between certain sacrifice and uncertain hope. Captain Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the stellar horizon, watching 17 human ships move toward the massive alien weapon. His crew worked with desperate speed, knowing that failure meant the death of everything they had ever known. The countdown showed 58 hours remaining. Dr. Kim Yuna floated in the weapons control center, surrounded by alien technology that responded to her thoughts. The Guardian of the Threshold watched silently as human engineers worked alongside. A few brave alien volunteers to change a device designed to destroy into something that might save everyone. Cascade Tunnel Number 7 is in position, reported Engineer Park Daeho from deep inside the weapons core. His voice crackled through the communication system. But the power coupling is barely holding together. The work was like trying to perform surgery on a star. Human ships, built for exploration and research, pushed far beyond their limits to place quantum resonators at exact positions throughout space. Each resonator had to be placed perfectly across distances measured in light years. Dr. Choi Sun-ho maintained contact with the alien conclave, where ancient species watched humanity's desperate attempt with mixed feelings. "The Crystal Eternals are calling our work beautifully hopeless," he reported. "The deep swimmers say we are admirably foolish." "Let them talk," Captain Lee replied, watching reality tears appear in nearby star systems as the cascade reached their location. "We have work to finish." The most dangerous part required Dr. Yuna to connect her mind directly with the weapon's ancient consciousness. No one had ever tried to join human thinking with alien logic in this way. As the cascade reached their position, she felt the last protocol's billions of years of purpose merge with humanity's desperate hope. "Connection established," she announced, her voice carrying to every human ship in the fleet. "The weapon systems are accepting our modifications, but the process is fighting us. It wants to fire the old way." Around them, space itself began to crack. Stars that had shined for billions of years suddenly went dark. Planets disappeared. As if they had never existed, the entropy cascade was reaching its final stage. "Firing sequence ready," Dr. Yuna called out. "All ships, prepare for space-time displacement. This is going to feel very strange." The last protocol fired. Instead of the expected explosion that would have destroyed half the galaxy, controlled tears opened in the fabric of reality itself. The weapon's enormous power, instead of creating destruction, became like a cosmic shepherd guiding the cascade away from life. The entropy cascade, which had been spreading randomly through space, suddenly found new pathways to follow. The reality breakdown began flowing through the tunnels that Dr. Yuna had calculated, moving toward empty regions between galaxies where nothing lived. Engineer Park Daeho watched his instruments with amazement. "The cascade is following our tunnels. It is working." For 17 minutes, the universe held its breath. The weapon's energies guided the cascade through predetermined paths that led to vast empty spaces where only dark matter existed. The reality breakdown that had threatened to destroy everything spent its force harmlessly in regions where no planets, no stars, no life existed. Then the cascade signatures vanished. The tears in space-time sealed themselves. The quantum breakdown that had threatened universal collapse simply stopped. Communication Officer Park Ji-won's voice broke the stunned silence. "All sensors showing cascade termination. The entropy cascade has been successfully redirected and contained." The response from the alien conclave came in dozens of languages, all expressing the same impossible truth. Humanity had succeeded where billions of years of accumulated wisdom had found only sacrifice as an answer. The Guardian of the Threshold appeared beside Dr. Yuna, its ancient form somehow looking more real and solid than before. "Young species," it said, "you have taught the universe something new. The oldest solutions are not always the best solutions." "Captain." Lee felt the enormous weight of cosmic responsibility lift from his shoulders, replaced by something even more meaningful. Humanity had just earned its place among the guardians of the universe. "The next cascade will not occur for another 4 billion years, the Guardian continued. "But when it does, we will remember that sometimes wisdom comes not from age, but from the courage to ask if there might be a better way. The alien species in the conclave sent messages of amazement and respect. The crystal eternals sang harmonies of gratitude. The deep swimmers performed ritual dances of celebration. The energy singers created gravitational wave patterns that meant, "Well done" in their ancient language. Dr. Yuna accepted the Guardian's invitation to remain at the weapon, joining the ancient watch that protected the universe. She would study the cosmic patterns, preparing for challenges that might not come for billions of years. As the human fleet began its journey home, Captain Lee looked back at the last protocol device. It no longer appeared as a weapon of destruction, but as an instrument of hope guided by the species that had refused to accept that impossible problems could only have impossible solutions. The weapon that had waited 4 billion years to destroy half a galaxy had instead become humanity's gift to the universe. When the last protocol fired, it had not brought death, but had shown that even the most ancient and proven methods could be improved by those brave enough to imagine something better. In the end, the universe was saved not by sacrifice, but by the human belief that there is always another way, if you are willing to look for it. The youngest voice in the cosmic chorus had taught the oldest beings that sometimes the best solution is the one no one has tried yet.